What's up, language learners? I'm Yannick, and in this video I'll show you my tricks and productivity hacks for LingQ. A little bit of context about myself. I'm from Austria, so my mother tongue is German, and I have been a LingQ member for more than 4 years now. I have used LingQ primarily to learn Russian, but I've also dabbled in other languages along the way. Some of you may recognize my voice because I am the creator of the first 10 German mini-stories. So the other day I had this thought. The LingQ community boasts thousands of members from all around the world, and every single one of those members has their own way of using the website, their own workflow, maybe even productivity hacks and workarounds. But unless we share these tricks with each other, only one person can benefit from them. So this is why I'm recording this video, in which I want to show you how I do things, and then you can pick what you like and implement it in your own language learning. Alright, I'm on my computer. Let's get started. To begin with, I wanted to introduce you to 3 Chrome browser extensions that have made my life linking a lot easier. Number 1 is called LingQ Translator Plus, which is a dictionary extension that makes it possible for you to look up any word by simply double-clicking on it. Let me show you how it works. This is my Russian account. I've used this extension primarily for Russian, but it should work also for other languages. Give it a try. So we're here in the text on this word, and if I want to look it up, I simply double click on it and the translation pops right up. I can then copy the translation, and paste it in the hints box. Let me show you what else you can do with this extension. You can have the word pronounced, and you can have additional information on the word by simply clicking this button. This takes you to the dictionary entry for the word, and this dictionary is amazing. It's called ABBYY LingQ Live. It contains lots of information. So you have examples of the word in use, you have phrases with the word, you have all the different forms the word can take on. It's an amazing dictionary and an amazing resource. What I like best about this extension is that it makes it possible for me to not even leave LingQ. I don't have to open a new window in order to look up the meaning of a word, unless I want to by clicking the link below the translation. This is why I like this extension so much, and you should definitely give it a try yourself. Moving on to the second browser extension, which is similar to the first one, but this one is specifically for learning Chinese, and it's called Zhongwen, which is the Chinese word for Chinese. With Zhongwen, you can look up the meaning of any character by simply hovering over it with your cursor. Let me show you how it works. So I'm here on the website of a more or less reputable Chinese newspaper. Let's first activate the extension by clicking on its icon in the extension bar, and then we can simply hover over any character and look up its meaning. As you can see, the extension also recognizes words which consist of more than one character, which is also very, very useful. Again, makes it possible. You can, of course, also use this when using LingQ, when going through a lesson, and which makes this amazing. Just like the previous app, you don't have to open a new window in order to look up the meaning of a word. And the third browser extension that I want to show you is our good old friend, Google Translate. Google Translate is amazing when you're just getting started in a new language and you don't really know how to navigate a website in your target language because you don't know it. Let me show you what I mean with this example from this website from a Russian radio station. And this website is a goldmine for content in Russian because they provide both the podcasts, or like the radio shows, and transcripts for them. But when you're just starting out in Russian, you have no idea where to click. Where does it say podcast? Where does it say transcripts? So what you do is you click on the Google Translate icon and then just simply click translate this page. And within a couple of seconds, you now know where to click because the podcast tab is right here. Alright, moving on to the next topic. And Steve Kaufman calls this the ability to notice. When you're starting out in a new language, you have no idea about verb forms, tenses, cases,
whether a verb is in its singular plural form, whether a noun is in its dative or accusative form. But the more you expose yourself to your target language, the more you get a feel for these endings, for these patterns. And one trick that I've used to accelerate this process of me getting a sense for these patterns is saving the word endings together with the word, with the link in the note section. Let me show you what I mean. For this demonstration, I am using Italian, which, just like any other Romance language, sucks with regards to verb forms and the number thereof. So this is especially valuable if you're learning a Romance language. I have here a verb from the text, lascerà. Let's go with this community translation. And what this does is it displays all these auto-generated tags with very valuable information about the verb. Number one, it is a verb. This tells me that it is a verb. Number two, this tells me that it is a future tense word. This is the infinitive. This is also very valuable. It tells me that it is a third person singular verb. With this equipped with this information, I then copy the word and put it into a verb conjugator. So this website tells me all the different forms that this verb can take on. I then look for the future tense, which is here. I can see the word right here, and I copy this little table and paste it in the notes section because we want to keep the hints very clean for only translations. What does this do? Whenever I look up a word, I am reminded of all the other forms of this specific tense. So every time I look up a word, I see it, I'm exposed to it, I can memorize it. I will not memorize it for good, but I'm one step closer to finally memorizing it. And then whenever I see this word in the future text, I'm reminded of all the different forms again by simply looking at this at the note section. You will not have to do this forever. It is especially valuable in the beginning because over time, maybe after 2-3 months, you'll just have an intuition you will know when a word is a third person singular present tense. When a verb is in the third person singular present tense, and so on. For learners of Slavic languages, I also recommend always saving the second aspect of the verb. Learners of Slavic languages will understand. So for example, in Russian, there you have the word оставить, which is the perfective aspect. I would also save the imperfective aspect of the word, which is оставлять. Оставлять, оставить. I would always save these in pairs because it's the same word, and depending on the situation, you will have to use one form or another. Let me just check my notes just to make sure that I didn't forget anything. Yes, also again for Slavic language learners, or learners of Slavic languages, do this for nouns as well, because in Slavic languages the noun endings change depending on the case. Do this for nouns as well. It will help you a lot, and by using this technique, you will gain a sense for these patterns, for these word endings a lot quicker. If you're not a fan of jumping back and forth between desktops, as I do, you can of course also use the pop-up dictionary function that LingQ provides by clicking on this button, and this button opens up the exact same website of the verb conjugator, and you can simply copy and paste it from here as well. Next, I have a listening tip for you. As you probably know, the foundation of successful language learning is comprehensible input. You have to understand what you're listening to, otherwise it's just a bunch of gibberish and you might as well not listen to it at all. And I want to share a particular frustration that I had when I was learning Russian, and some of you may be able to relate. So I was probably an intermediate at that point, and I would listen to whatever random interview I would find on YouTube or whatever podcast app I was using at the time, and I would listen to these interviews and I would get the gist of them, but there were these words that I didn't know yet that carried lots of meaning, that carried the meaning of entire sentences, maybe even entire segments of the interview. And by not knowing these words, I couldn't absorb like 20, 30, or 40% of the value of these interviews. And that just frustrated me. So I wanted to change that. And what did I do to combat that? I started importing these interviews together with the transcripts into LingQ, listening to the interviews while going through them in the LingQ reader, looking up all the words that I didn't know yet, and then re-listening to the interview while running. So I would go on a run and I would re-listen to these interviews. And I would be running and a word that I had just looked up is mentioned and I would go, bam! This word means blah, blah, blah. And I have a feeling that the words that I learned this way, I memorized them way more quickly than the words that I learned by repetition, by looking them up 20 times in a dictionary. Of course, it doesn't have to be a run, could be anything really that doesn't demand a lot of brain power. So like cleaning, doing the dishes, going for a walk, on your commute, whatever. But just going through lessons once, eliminating all the unknown words, and then re-listening to the lesson just a couple of hours later. And the final topic that I want to cover is how to find interesting content on the internet. For me, there is a guiding principle, and it goes like this. You have to be a hunter for good content. You have to be proactive in your search, and you cannot rely on what other people present to you. Because let's be honest, people, this is not a language class. This is not Spanish 101 where Miss Gonzalez puts together all the materials for you and then presents them on a silver platter. No, we are independent language learners. This is the language learning equivalent of the real world. Exponentially better results, but also more effort from our side. With that being said, how do you find interesting content in your target language? I think that music is always a good place to start because, let's be honest, who doesn't like music? And you can just look up whatever genre that you like the best and look for artists in that genre. For me, that genre is hip-hop. So when I was learning Russian, I looked up Russian hip-hop, Russian rap, and I stumbled upon this YouTube channel, which is the biggest battle rap league in the world, turns out, based in Russia. And that really sparked my interest. I wanted to know all the insults that these MCs were throwing at each other. I wanted to be able to appreciate the wittiness of the puns in the lyrics. So that motivated me, and I actually looked up, I went through a lot of tracks, a lot of battles from this YouTube channel when I was learning Russian. But more generally, simply ask yourself this. What interests do I already have in the languages that I already speak? What about sports? What about politics? What about history? What about that obscure hobby that you have? Like postmarks or coins, gardening, cooking, fitness. I mean, come on, every country has its own quintessential douchebag YouTuber with 1 million subscribers. The content is out there, people. You just have to look for it. So what you do is you simply take whatever topic you're interested in, you translate the word for the topic, like politics, for example, into your target language, and then you search for that word on YouTube or on Google. You will find something. Not to judge anyone, but I absolutely have to share this cautionary tale with you of what happens when you don't find anything that you're genuinely interested in your target language. So, I have this group of friends, and they're all English majors. However, whenever I would bring up a cultural reference that any English speaker should understand, not to mention English majors, their faces would just go blank. They had no idea what I was talking about. And it wasn't until much later that I understood why. They didn't expose themselves to a lot of content in English. They did not read any books in English. They did not watch any movies in English. They had no idea. Their approach to learning English was very technical. So they could tell you when to use the present continuous tense, but they could not tell you what the Big Apple is, for example. It was just mind-blowing. And some of you might say, well, whatever, they don't get cultural references, at least they speak English well. Wrong. Their language skills were lacking as well. They made lots of mistakes, or they still make lots of mistakes. Their vocabulary is very limited. And that's just because they don't expose themselves to a lot of the English language. And don't get me wrong, I don't judge anybody for making mistakes, because I've probably already made 10 mistakes in this video. But there are different expectations for people who are trying to get a degree, an academic degree in a foreign language. Alright, back to finding interesting content. YouTube is a goldmine for interesting content. But YouTube has one feature that many people don't know about. Let me show you what that is. Let's start by searching for a term or for a topic that I'm interested in. Let's say tennis, in this case in Russian. There we go. Lots of videos about tennis. And then we click on the filter tab and select subtitles CC. Boom! Now YouTube only displays the videos, those videos that have subtitles. And as you all know, you can use the LingQ browser extension to import YouTube videos together with their subtitles into LingQ. What about, I don't know, like the history of Moscow? Again, filter, subtitles CC. There we go. Lots of videos with subtitles, which is what you want when using LingQ. But what if you found a video that you're interested in, but that doesn't have any subtitles? Well, you can give the automatically generated subtitles on YouTube a try. For example, this is the YouTube channel of an Italian teacher who does live streams regularly. And he doesn't provide any subtitles, but I found out that the automatically generated subtitles by YouTube are pretty damn accurate. So you click on the settings bar, select subtitles CC, and click on, in this case, Italian auto-generated. Here they are, and then you use the LingQ browser extension for importing the lesson into LingQ. It works very well for Italian. It works even better for English. But there are some languages, for example Slovak, where this feature is not supported at all. So there is no automatically generated subtitles for Slovak videos on YouTube. Anyway, just give it a try for whatever language you're learning. What follows is one of the most valuable pieces of advice for finding interesting content that you will ever get. So listen up. When you're looking for the transcript to a podcast, try quote searching a sentence out of that podcast on Google. Let me show you what I mean. For those of you who don't know, you can display only search results that contain a certain phrase verbatim by using quotation marks left and right of that phrase. So for example, let's look for the phrase, I don't know, let me see what I can do. Then put quotation marks on both sides of that phrase. And there we go. Only search results containing that exact phrase. Now, I just listened to the first couple of minutes of the Tim Ferriss show with Matthew McConaughey and whatever. But I remember that one of the leading sentences was, my guest today is Texan native Matthew McConaughey. Put quotation marks left and right. And there we go. There is the transcript. My guest today is Texas native Matthew McConaughey. Well, haters amongst you will say that I cheated because I looked this up, and that's true. But by using this trick, I found the transcript for a Chinese podcast, and it was on some obscure forum that I've never heard of. So Don't hate. Yes, I cheated in this case, but it works. Give it a try. And the last point that I want to cover is this. Be aware of which platforms and which websites are the most popular in the countries where your target language is spoken. Where do they buy ebooks? Where do they buy audiobooks? Do they use YouTube? Do they use Facebook? What is the most popular social network in your target language? One funny story from my experience learning Russian. I was looking for Russian blogs for the longest time and I couldn't find any interesting ones until I realized that the most interesting Russian blogs are actually on Telegram. They're Telegram channels. So by knowing where to look, you significantly increase your chances of finding interesting content that you will like. Alright, these are my tips. I hope you got something out of it. See you next time.